Welcome to Project Red, where purpose and perseverance collide. I'm Patrick, one of the co-hosts, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about what it means to truly endeavor. This is our very first episode, and I could not think of a better way to start than by sitting down with our other co-host and co-founders of Hands and Feet Project, McGinniss and Mark Stuart. We're going to talk about the heart behind the podcast, the journey of Hands and Feet Project, and the powerful stories that we hope to share in future episodes. You don't want to miss this episode, so let's get into it. All right, you ready?
Oh yeah.
Nice. I'm excited, man. This is great.
Yeah.
I'm amped.
Let's start with the big question. Why Project Red?
I can jump in.
Yeah, go for it. I love it.
The purpose of Project Red is really to provide a place for people to tell their stories about their purpose and perseverance. We wanted to
Passions.
people that we've kind of connected with into this space for them to, share their passion on what Jesus has called them to. I think a lot of times when people think about becoming hands and feet, it's very romantic, and you don't think about kind of the sacrifice part. But when you think about the hands and feet of Jesus, you know, they were pierced and broken. And, for this project is about people to come in here and tell their stories about what they've accomplished, but what they've persevered, and hopefully encourage a generation of servants to do the same thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, as we think about 20 years in Haiti now for Hands and Feet Project, there's been a lot of highs and a lot of lows through that. And so many of the guests that will come on this podcast they've been serving in such a way that they've endured, and they've lasted, and they've run in such a way, as the Bible says, to finish, you know? And so it's our heart to encourage people out there who may be thinking of starting something, or maybe they're in the middle of something, or they're on a high, or they're in a low, whatever. We just hope that these podcasts will come just at the right time to give them the word that they need to get them through whatever they're going through. So Project Red is going to be hopefully podcasts, segments, and people, interesting people, and folks who come along to encourage people.
Great. What does the name Project Red represent?
Well, I think red is kind of the word that sticks out, and red kind of represents passion, love. It also represents sacrifice. And, you think about blood, sweat, and tears. When you think of red, it also is like you kind of a waving a red flag. It's a warning sign. People need help. So there's all kinds of kind of emotion attached to the word red. And I think Project Red is a great name for people to come tell their stories about how they're serving, the passions that they're kind of diving into, and also stories of the sacrifices that they're making to live out that calling.
So for anyone that's listening, what are you really hoping that they're going to gain from tuning in?
Oh, man.
I think Will touched on earlier. I think this is a place for people to find hope, to either jump in to their calling, or hope to keep going.
Yeah.
I can't imagine while you were talking about some of the people that we've walked with in other organizations or ministries, the hurdles that they faced, the moments that they thought, well, am I supposed to be doing this? Because this is so hard. Yeah. Is there hope? Are we even supposed to keep going? Yeah. So our hope is that when people watch this, they can relate to the struggles of other people serving out their calling, and find the courage to keep pressing on,
Yeah. What kinds of stories and guests can people expect in future episodes?
I think they're going to all be awesome. I mean, these are people that we've done a lot of life with, probably. They're change makers, they're artists, they're people who've, done incredible things, but they've also endured through incredible seasons, probably. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, just sitting here, I mean, we've not filmed anything yet, so I can't wait to hear the stories. I'm sure they're very similar to what we've experienced in Hands and Feet. I mean, for us, it was hurricanes and, gang violence and, extreme poverty, things that, just these insurmountable mountains, right?
Yeah.
And mountains after mountains. So I think what we're going to hear is just people's struggles, but their perseverance and ultimately their wisdom and hope for our listeners, whether they've got a nonprofit or a ministry, or whether they're just doing life, and they have mountains and struggles just in their everyday walk with the Lord. So, it's our hope that they just hear stories of courage and perseverance.
That's so great. I'm excited about that. Let's rewind to the beginning of Hands and Feet Project. How did it all start?
It's a long time ago.
It is a long time. Like 21 years now.
The late 1900s.
We were in a rock band back then. I was playing bass, swinging my hair around a lot.
Wow, that's a great question. My parents were missionaries in Haiti. Right. Since 1986, they moved there when I graduated high school. So I was 17 or 18. I went on my first mission trip to Haiti when I was 14. And I fell in love with Haiti the moment I stepped off the airplane, the sounds and the smells and just the bustle. It just felt like a different world, and it was exciting and dynamic. The people were brilliant. The food was amazing. People's smiles. I mean, it was like
love it.
Everything was on 10, where in America, it's just kind of everything's subdued. Everything there is just on fire, almost like it's beautiful. But I went on the first mission trip and, realized pretty quickly that I was humbled pretty quickly. Like you first start I'm going to go change Haiti and it's going to be, they're not going to know what hit them, when I get there. And then you realize real quickly that you have no clue. And that the people there are very well equipped and they love the Lord. Their work ethic is amazing, but you start to find out where I could plug in and how I could help. So I think early on, I just really knew that Haiti was going to be a part of my life forever. And then with Audio Adrenaline, we were singing a song called Hands and Feet.
Yeah, that's right. The namesake.
Which was written about a mudslide in Central America. Actually, it wasn't written about Haiti. I was watching this news channel and I saw this thing. I was like, man, how can we help? It's so far away. I want to become Jesus's hands to these people, but they're in a different country. I don't even know how to get there. Yeah. So we started to sing this song and people started to react to it and we're like, wow. And people like your dad inspired us.
So great to have you here, Patrick.
And his story of I'm going to give up this job and go be a missionary with my family, my kids.
To Peru.
And we were humbled by that, by your dad's response, to be honest with you. And we were sitting in a bus going, if he can do that, what are we to do?
That's right.
So that started to bubble up. I went to a meeting in Nashville where Bono was at, and he was there sharing about his One campaign. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said, if in 20 years from now, the AIDS crisis, when it disappears, he's like, I want the church to have led the way. And he came and sat with us, and
brilliant.
DC Talk was there, and Michael W. Smith was there. It was old school. Jars of Clay was there, and they were thinking about Bloodwater Mission.
Yeah.
And I left, and we kind of left with this idea of we can do this. We were encouraged by Bono.
Yep.
And I hope that this can encourage other people to do something great and stick to it. But then we dug in, we started to work, and God unfolded these ideas and these plans on what to do next. And we kind of fumbled our way towards something significant, not because of us, but because what God has done through us. And really, honestly, not really through us, but through so many people. Like, oh my gosh, the people that have come around it and have caught the vision. We were just a conduit and just a little bit of a voice to get people to jump in. But that's kind of how it started. It was this kind of a chain of events, and that's how God works sometimes. He puts little, breadcrumbs and leads you to this place where there's like, oh, here's what I really want for you to do.
And he uses unusual vehicles and unusual people to do extraordinary things, I think. And that's something that anyone listening to this can absolutely take heart, that we were nothing really that special, but we, God, when he presented these ideas, we were, I guess, faithful in saying yes, so.
Yeah, you become available, God can do it.
There you go.
But it was 2004, and now we're 21 years into it. And man, there's been some great victories and some, definitely we took some punches along the way.
Yep, absolutely.
So as you're looking at those early days, what was that motivation to take that leap of faith?
Good question.
Well, definitely my parents. I think a lot of us, it's different messages and pastors and music led us to that, and feedback from fans. There was a lot of different motivation, from Bono to your dad, I would say.
Yeah.
And Ben Sissel, our drummer, I think, called us out one time. He's like, "Man, we're singing about this. Let's do something.
Let's actually do something."
Yeah. So it was coming at us from a lot of different places. I think when God moves on your heart, sometimes it's a small voice, and then sometimes it's like a bunch of people yelling at you to get in the game. For us, I think we're kind of knuckleheads. It took a lot of action, a lot of like messages for us to jump in.
I definitely think that Drex and Joe were just supernatural in the way that we just called them and said, "Hey, you want to come out of retirement and go do this?" And their yes was almost like we got to do this.
Yeah.
If they're willing to go back to Haiti, and start this thing with us. And then, God had led us to a place, Jacmel, and then, just things started, lining up, and it was just like, we got to do this. So, and we started to talk about it from our stage. Mark would talk about it every night before we played the song Hands and Feet. And people would just get pumped up, and then they started coming on trips with us. There was just kind of a snowball that just kind of took off rolling way faster and way bigger than we even probably thought it would have at the time,
Yeah. All right. So at Hands and Feet Project, the word endeavor is central to this year's mission. What does that word mean for you personally?
I love this word. Our team came up with this for the year, and we've had so many kind of great words, for each year that we've done this, but it just seems so provincial and so timely. When Haiti is not maybe the Haiti that we remember it to be, and it's not maybe the Haiti that we had hoped it would be by 2025, and all the work that we've put in there and all the work that other organizations have put in there. And, how it just continually seems to be facing, obstacle after obstacle to be a safe place, be a place that people can thrive and can succeed and can win. So to endeavor, I just feel like it's kind of like we're not giving up, and we're gonna, you might say we're dug in, and we're even gonna try to grow and go bigger this year. We're gonna endeavor bigger things in God. We're gonna try to take God at His word and hold Him to His promises. That if we say yes, He'll show up and do the brunt of really the heavy lifting. But we make ourselves, like I love what Mark said, if we make ourselves available, He'll allow us to do more in Him than we could think or imagine, so scriptural things there, but we just endeavor more. It's not when people are leaving, when people are kind of like going, well, it's too tough, I can't do it, or all these kinds of sentiments. We're just like, no, we're going to endeavor to do more this year. So that's what it means for me personally.
What about you? Looking at me?
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, endeavor is a beautiful word. I think it perfectly fits this year. Actually, this kind of season for Hands and
Absolutely.
Feet. It's about being I think, determined
Yeah.
to endeavor on, through not persecution or, problems, but it's also aspirational to like,
I love that.
I'm going to set out and expect something new. We're on an endeavor to see what God has. So it's not just about, holding fast. It's about believing for something big is going to happen too, because it is. Yeah. So it's kind of twofold for us. And I think it's the perfect word for this season. And probably a lot of people that face ministry, they're going to go through these periods where, man, it gets very real, very, very difficult, very hard. And endeavor is a great word to hang on to.
All right. What is the Haitian proverb that we always talk about?
Do you want it in Creole or in English?
I would love it in Creole, and then I'll recite it in English.
Okay, it's Déaimons, Gaimons.
Amazing.
Nice.
Beyond mountains, more
mountains.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, behind mountains are more mountains. What are some of the biggest mountains that you've had to climb?
Oh, man. These are good questions.
There's so many mountains.
There are, yes. I mean, so many stories from Haiti come to mind where we just almost closed our doors,
I have one story that we hit early on. We had just finished building Jack Mill, or the very first campus at Jack Mill.
The front campus.
It was 2008. Yep. So we were 4 years into the Hands and Feet project. That year, you're too young to remember.
Definitely.
There were 3 hurricanes that hit Haiti in a row.
Yeah.
Hurricane, what is it? Ike. No, it was Gustav, Hannah, and Ike.
Yeah.
All right. And so what happened, we're like watching the Weather Channel and you see these big things, blobs coming towards Haiti, and like just praying. And then they would just go north. But what happened was with 3 hurricanes, so much water was dumped on Haiti that there were just massive flash floods all over the island. So we had thought we had kind of got through the initial brunt of the storm, but then we started to get phone calls about massive flooding. And then Michelle was there. My parents were out of Haiti at the time. We were just in Nashville, probably on tour at that point, right at the end of Audio A. And she's like, I don't know what to do. All the kids she's on the phone with us. All the kids from the children's village had to crawl up onto the top of the big house, which was actually intentionally named the big house, but they're all standing up on top because a flash flood was dumping like tons of rocks into our campus. So we're literally on the phone. She's sending us videos, and we had been working for 4 years, and we're like, what is happening? Our kids are they safe? We're just freaking out. And then she would call us an hour later, and the rocks were up another foot. And then she kept calling, and then eventually this hurricane, because of the flash flood, the mountains behind us, the mountains beyond mountains, was literally dumping rock and debris onto our campus, and it eventually buried our campus under.
Split the campus in half, and the front campus was buried.
6 to 8 feet of rock. Wow. So you would walk into a house like this where our kids were, up to about a foot below the top of the window. You'd have to crawl in. It was just filled up with mud and dirt and rocks. And some of the rocks were the size of like small cars. Yeah.
Massive boulders.
So my dad and I got on an airplane. We flew down, and we're like, well, what are we going to do? And this was between Hurricane Hannah and Ike. This is probably too long. I'm telling this big story. But in between the second and third hurricane, we hired a bulldozer from Joel.
Yep.
And we started to push back. And then we're like, okay, we built a little berm so if it rains again, that we would be okay because there was a third earthquake coming. Our flight was to come back, and we were on the airplane, and we were just like, what's going to happen? Because this hurricane's coming towards us. And then it washed away the berm that we built and dumped even more rock onto the campus. So we were just like, what are we to do here, God? We've been faithful. We've worked for 4 years, blood, sweat, and tears. My parents moved to Haiti. We've been working, raising money. Everything was focused on building a children's village so the kids could have a place to come that had no place. And then just like that, in a matter of days, it was like you're not supposed to be here. And we just prayed and cried. It was like, what are we to do, God? Are we just to move away? Or are we to find somewhere else? And we just heard from God and said, no, this is you're just supposed to dig in and dig out. And this is where I've planted you. And just wait and see. I got you. And then we just started to work. And it was just one step at a time, and we eventually over the next year, 18 months, we were able to build a substantial wall that was 18 feet deep. I think you could see it from space. And we had to build a suspension bridge to connect. Stephen Mulligan did that, he was incredible. And we were able to build and connect our two campuses. And what I think was intended for evil or intended to make us quit sometime, it felt like that. And this was, God just turned it around and he said, just be faithful and I'm going to do something beautiful. And it really, I think, established us in the neighborhood and in the village. Is like, these guys aren't going anywhere. And they are here with us and for us.
Yeah. During
and I
these
think
hard
that
times.
was an important moment. So that was a mountain that we faced early on, but what it did, it was built our resilience and our faith in God, but it also, the people that we served, my gosh, I think they were like, man, these guys are in it. And I think that was one of the big reasons too, that God allowed us to kind of experience that mountain and come over the top of it, because it not only encouraged us, but the people that we serve.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember was Mark and Drex's dad were flying out through the third hurricane and their plane is going up and down and they're like, oh my gosh. And
the most fearful thing I've ever seen.
Just a terrifying flight out. And they're having this conversation. And I think Mark said Drex's dad says, it's not about the walls and the buildings. Why did you start this? It's about the children. Yeah. And so we knew then and there that we couldn't abandon these children that had been, that had been entrusted to us.
For sure.
And then all of the rock that came in, we turned around and would use it to build so many of the structures that would be the houses that would care for the kids on the back campus. It would be this massive walled, like a Chinese wall that of Haiti. It would be this massive retaining wall that wouldn't just protect our campus, but like Mark said, it would protect our neighbors on our left and our right. It would direct the water, if this ever happened again, to go to the right spots and not hurt other works, on our left and our right. So yeah, just one of those moments that, and there are others, we've gone through earthquakes and other hurricanes and political things. And that's the mountains behind mountains are other mountains. And we've had to continue this, but it started with this.
Well, 2 years later was the earthquake hit.
Yeah.
So we had dug out,
largest earthquake.
Just got kind of like, okay, we got this under control. And then, one of the world's, I guess, probably the top 10 catastrophes, loss of life in the history of the world happened. Yeah. There in Haiti and, within miles of Jacmel and Grand Gual.
Yeah.
So I think the mountains beyond mountains, the hurricanes prepared us for a time such as this, an earthquake. And then the earthquake prepared us for what was next to come our way, what was going to shake. And you just see the faithfulness of God just continue to work and build for what's next. And you hang on what is going to happen? But you really start to develop this tenacity and almost stubbornnness.
Yeah, that's right.
My God is bigger than this. I've seen it happen before and it's going to happen again, So the Haiti's definitely it throws some punches at you. Or
that's right.
Mountains beyond mountains, punches beyond punches.
Yes.
Great. So how exactly do you keep going when you see these impossible mountains? I mean, obviously if you have so many, what's that thing that helps you keep going in those moments?
Oh man. I mean, for me, it's like a childlike faith, and maybe that's just more about my approach to life and my journey with God. But, like when your child, you're in the lake and you tell them to run and jump off the dock into your arms, and somehow they're courageous and they know because dad is in the water, he's going to catch me. He just runs and launches, he's a little half pint and he runs and does it, right. And for me, that's just something that I see God as, he's a faithful father that will catch, you jump and he'll catch you.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of doing life in Haiti or just life in general is knowing that the Father's got you, knowing that he, calls us to have a faith that's like a child, that when he asks us to do something, we're willing to not ponder the cost, not ponder, is it scary, not ponder, do I have the strength or, the abilities or whatever, but that we would just go and jump, and do what he's called us to. So I think in Haiti, especially, you need that kind of faith to just kind of know that things can supernaturally happen and God can use you and to overcome these mountains, that we faced, and to have this tenacity, to have this courage, to have this stubbornness, if you will. But it's only because we know God is greater and bigger, and he definitely what he says in the Bible is true, his promises are true, and how he delivers every time. So if we'll just let him.
Are there any stories you would like to share of moments when God was showing up and it reminded you of why you do this work?
I mean,
there's so many.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the obvious answer to that question for me was right after the earthquake. So we had been toughened up by these hurricanes, right? And we're like, all right, God's, he's called us and we can go through some stuff. So my wife and Aegis and I were there. We're working on an adoption. We were there in Haiti when the earthquake hit. And it wasn't terrifying for me when the earthquake happened, because I was like, dumb. I'm from Kentucky. I don't even know what an earthquake is. So I was like, I thought it was like a big train or like a truck driving through Jacmel or something. I was like, what is that? And then the building started to shake, and it, at first I was like, that was cool, because the mountain behind us, I keep referencing mountains. It's kind of crazy that there was rocks coming off of the mountain, like boulders, like rolling down the mountain. And I'm like, wow, that was amazing. What we were just experienced, an earthquake, like right there. And I thought that was the epicenter of the earthquake, was the mountain shaking behind us. But then we started to realize all around us, people were like crying out. Beyond our little campus, you could start to hear wailing and crying, and there was an odd silence. And then it just, at first, and everybody was like, what was that? And then it was like, it became very real that a lot of people were hurt. And then it became real that thousands were killed, and there again, you're like, what can I do? I didn't even know it was an earthquake, and I'm, some kid from Kentucky. My wife's there, and my parents are older, and we're all just like, my dad had malaria for the 12th time, I think. And we're like, what do we do? But we started to walk around and work with our staff and met people right where they are. Then we started to get phone calls. We saw houses down and people bleeding and hurt, so we're helping them. And then we got a phone call that Port-au-Prince was flattened. I remember Otis told us that. But then we just started to work and like dug in. And because of what we did with the hurricanes, the mayor of Jacmel, basically we went to a meeting and they said, you guys, hands and feet, you're in charge.
You're in charge, yep.
Of not everything, but you're in charge of the airport and distribution of goods. And then what happened was we put the word out. And the very first people that showed up to help was the church. And that's when this was like God's faithfulness became so evident. So the American church starts to land little airplanes with just like, oh, here's water and like food and like, and we would just start to unload it and start distributing it. And then a boat showed up for one of our partners at Go Ministries with a load of stuff.
Yep.
And so to answer your question, it was just at that moment you saw the Church of Christ just show up in such an amazing way before any military, before any government showed up, before any NGO. It was just God's people loving on the people of Haiti. And then parallel to that was the church in Haiti. So God showed up in the churches around us too. People were praying, people were helping. They were standing up fighting for each other. And it was the churches of America and the churches of Haiti partnering together. And it was remarkable to see. And you're just like, well, how good is God and how good is God's people at that moment? It was so reassuring that another mountain shook. And then we had to kind of get over, and God showed up with his people and reminded us that, again, he's holding us, and have nothing to fear. Just keep going.
It's amazing. Hands and Feet Project is built on providing families, preserving families, and empowering communities. How have you seen these efforts transform lives?
I mean, most recently, we just went through the holiday season. And one of the cool things that our staff in Haiti did was that they wanted to serve their community. And so they came together on their own, and they made a bunch of meals, and they went to the local prison and they served the people in prison with like this incredible meal. And they had like some things that they gave them, like toothbrush, toothpaste, just some sundries and stuff like that. But, and then they went out into the community as well. Of course, we serve kids on our campus, fully take care of them and their needs. And then we've begun to go out into the community, and we come alongside vulnerable families, and then this community service aspect. But so these families that we get to walk alongside as well, they were able to go and serve them. There were reports of them praying with a lot of the families and people giving their life to Jesus too during this time. But as a staff, we get to go through kind of spiritual formation, monthly, weekly, and we do other things together. And it's just cool to see them put their faith in action, that this thing about being hands and feet, Christ's hands and feet to the world around you, is not just this Hands and Feet Project campus that they come to work at, but it's actually kind of becoming a lifestyle and a way for them to go out and to express how, even outside of what they do as a job, that they can be the hands and feet of Christ to the people around them, which is the greatest win of all, and how they want to go back and serve their communities. They want to go back and pour into creating a better Haiti, which is a lot of what Hands and Feet Project, 20 years ago went to Haiti for.
Yeah.
And the way that they serve families, even sometimes we'll have small children who are sick in these families, and they'll want to come alongside them with medical, help with medical needs or crisis like that. But sometimes the children, for whatever reason, they just won't make it, they might pass away. And that's a really hard thing. You get really frustrated at that, and you're like, why? We tried so hard. And then you realize that this amazing team of Haitians just loved and gave this child such a dignified and beautiful final kind of time on this side, before it went to be with the Father. And so the way they love is just so awe-inspiring. So I'm inspired by our Haitian team who do, our organization is run top down by Haitian leaders and Haitian staff, caring for Haitian students, caring for Haitian families. And they're so inspiring, the way they love and the way they go out and the way they serve their communities and the way they exemplify the mission of Hands and Feet Project. So,
what leadership lessons have you learned that could possibly encourage someone that's stepping into their own calling?
Oh man, deep questions from Patrick today. I love it. I love it. You did your homework. Yeah, I think it's weird because I really didn't think I could do probably a lot in my life, I was a bass player in a Christian rock band, but before that I was in Bible college, trying to be an educator, I was going to be education. Before that, I was coming from a small town in Ohio and cornfields in a broken home. And just the way I grew up, I probably didn't really think that I was capable of a lot, and each step that I just mentioned, God was just taking me on a different part of my journey. He would call me to go to Bible college. And then in Bible college, I met this guy, and I got in a Christian rock band like the very first week, it was just very bizarre through my mom. And then we take off and we go on the road, but it's like, I still probably only thought that I could play my bass and swing my hair around. I didn't maybe think I was qualified to do much more. And then when the band wound down, there was a season there where God just really needed to develop me, and he needed to take me through some stuff. Right. And sometimes that's super painful, when God disciplines you, or when he is like the potter in the clay and he's molding you, or when he's, the arborist and he's cutting back your branches, and it's almost like, no, you can't go that far. It's too painful. It's too much. And I'll never grow back, but he knew and saw and believed so much more for me, right? And I think that's for anyone. And when you allow him to do that process, he'll really show you how he's equipped you, how he's made you, fearfully and wonderfully made, and how we're so each unique, and we each have our own unique gifting, and how he's wired you, And so he really started to kind of break that down for me and reveal to me kind of whatever, my strength finders, my skill set, my tools in the toolbox, he started to show me that. And I think that's what leadership is about. It's really allowing God to, to humble yourself, first of all. A humble and contrite spirit is what God likes. He wants someone who will humble themselves, and he'll be able to teach, in a teachable spirit. And then he starts to show you how he made you and what he wants to do with you. But so for me, I think a leadership is about being passionate. It's about really finding the things that you are super passionate about, but then understanding how God has equipped you to use that passion and direct it to take on different things. For me, I love working in team settings. I love leading by locking arms and servant, kind of getting in the trench with people and those kinds of things. So there's different kinds of leaders and stuff that could be, we could do a whole podcast on that, but I'll let Mark pick it up from here. But I believe that God reveals also the way he's formed you and how you fit on a team and how you can lead alongside people or in front of people too,
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who might feel a calling to serve but doesn't know where to start?
I think start by doing something. My dad used to say,
he had a great quote. Yeah, it was like, just do anything, even if it's wrong.
If it's wrong. I'm not sure that's great wisdom, Dad.
Yeah.
It's close. I think the heart behind it is...
be in motion.
Yeah, don't stand still. If there's a door open or a window open, you see God's like, oh, here's something I could help there. Just start. And then God's going to take that step, and he's going to show you the next step. Even if it's just sponsoring a child. I do a lot of speaking about child sponsorship, and that's the easiest way to just enter into this. Is like, you know what, let me just make the connection and make a little sacrifice. It's small. But then it becomes, well, I could do another child, or I could sponsor a family, or I could go on a mission trip, or, what's out there. But it starts with just one yes. And,
Agreed.
And if you're frozen by trying to figure out where to go, what to do, that's how the enemy keeps you there. It's just by saying, okay, I'm going to do this. Yes to this, and then let's see where he takes you. He's not going to well, you made the wrong decision. I'm done with you. Because I've made plenty of wrong decisions. But when you have a yes, and God says, yep, that was, at least you said yes to something, then he's going to go, okay, I'm going to put you this way or that way. And he's going to guide you, but have a contrite, humble servant heart of what Will said through leadership, and a willingness to say yes. And then God is faithful to light that path to what's next.
If there's one thing you'd like for our listeners to take away from today's conversation, what would it be?
I feel like there's been a little bit of a theme, that God has been weaving through the whole thing. And for me, it's just a willingness to, like our word, endeavor, but this one's similar but different, endure, and to hang in there, through all the obstacles and through all the challenges. We've been talking about mountains beyond mountains. And when you conquer one mountain, there'll be the next. And that's really life. I mean, life is going to be those ups and downs. They're going to be things you face, right? And challenges. And so God has called us to be faithful, with the journey that we're on, the path he has us on. And the world's going to throw stuff at us, The world's going to throw weather events or just hardships through relationships or in other ways. And it's our hope that anyone listening would find encouragement from all the things that we've talked about, that God is faithful. He'll show up and do his part if we say yes. And then if we can endure and kind of hang in there when the going gets tough, that he'll be walking right alongside of us through that. And he'll also, when we talked about being in motion, just, when you try to do anything for God, just say the first yes and be in motion, and God will steer you from there, and he'll allow you to catch a fire, for whatever it is that he's built in you, like once you do that one thing, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that was awesome, and why haven't I done that more? Why haven't I done the next thing? And God, what's next? And you start to just get this excitement about saying yes to God and what he's going to do, even through the hardships. It's going to be like, wow, I faced that giant like David did. And wow, with God, I took it down. And what's the next cool thing I can take down, So maybe I hope that they get a sense of that, that, again, we're not superhuman. We're not anything special. I'm a boy from Ohio, grew up in cornfields in a broken home, but God used, and Mark from Kentucky, and his mom and dad, who are incredible, missionary people, and how we could all come together and do this life that we've done, so.
How can we pray for you and Hands and Feet Project's endeavor for 2025?
I would just ask people to pray about joining us. For one thing, how they could plug in. I think we've given them a lot of encouragement, hopefully an opportunity and maybe a push to get out there and say yes, to trust God. I think in terms of praying for our organization and our team, I'd pray for our kids, our staff, our families that we represent. Ask people to pray for the country of Haiti, its leadership. The struggles that they're facing right now seem, it makes the earthquake look like it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, it's a massive issue going on in Haiti right now with violence and just the political unrest and the hopelessness that people face. Well, it's completely different. So pray for the people of Haiti, for their hearts to endure. They are a resilient people, but continue to pray for them and lift them up. And hopefully in praying for them, your hearts will soften to jump in with us and to serve. That's what I would hope for. And then I think just for wisdom and direction for where we go next, as organizations continue to leave Haiti because it's too hard, we are enduring and endeavoring to do even more. So pray for us to, for whatever that next mountain is, that we're faithful and we remain courageous to keep going.
So I love that, what Mark just said, but I just got back from Haiti. And as Mark said, we're coveting your prayers. We're really inviting you to consider what God is going to do through Hands and Feet Project in 2025. I mean, it is a tough climate, but we believe, as we've said this whole podcast, that God is greater and that he can still use us. And so I was just in Haiti, up in Cape Haitian, And so there are, outside of Port-au-Prince, there are areas where people can operate, where they can move about the country safely, and where God is on the move, I believe. And so specifically in our programming for Little Hands Daycare and our Stronger Together, where we come alongside these vulnerable families, I think those are two ways that Hands and Feet Project is going to really try to stand in the gap this year for what Haiti is going through. And there's 1 million displaced people out of Port-au-Prince. So many people are going to these areas that they're able to at least get away from the dangerous areas that the gangs occupy. And so bare minimum, we want to come alongside these other areas. We want to create little hands daycares where we're supporting families, we're creating jobs, and we're also allowing them to have a safe place, for them to drop their children off while they go and try to work and try to survive this time. But then coming alongside families who just, they need help right now. I mean, we've gone from where we're dreaming of development and those kinds of things for Haiti all the way back to just helping people survive right now during this time. And so whether it's Jeremy or whether it's Lakai or up in Cape Haitian, we're dreaming of how God would use Hands and Feet Project to provide some food help, or to provide some medical assistance, or to put a child in school, get some books, get some outfits, and help them go to school and educate. And again, back to the Little Hands Daycare, how we could grab these young babies from 0 to 3 years old, in the prime of their development, give them a protein, give them Montessori infused with the gospel, this singing and worship and lots of tactile and manipulative play, how that would really develop them to go on and be just these incredible children that God would use to change Haiti in the future. So it's a lot of that for this year. And the real win, I think, is that we're going to be doing this through partnerships with other like-minded organizations. So a spirit of collaboration is key. And I think we're able to come, so many people who still remain in Haiti are wanting to try to help one another. And that spirit of collaboration to try to offer up this section of this campus to do a daycare. And hey, we've got this campus, and do you want to use it for a pastor's retreat, or things like that. Everyone's talking and everyone's not in silos anymore. And I think that's really how the Lord's work can be multiplied and can get done a lot faster. And so we're excited about that as we try to grow our programming. It's going to be with partners who are like-minded, and we're going to help each other to stay dug in the fight in Haiti. So that's really cool. That's exciting for me.
That's so great. So if there's anyone listening that would like to learn more, maybe give or even get involved, how would you suggest that they do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of communication from our website. Like, you can sign up for a newsletter. You can sign up on our, we have a text where you can receive a text update a lot. We have, obviously you can pray for us, and you can, think about the different programming that we're doing and stuff, whichever one God grabs your heart, and he tugs on you. And that's the thing that you really love that we're doing. You can come alongside and help us do that. But really standing up daycares and coming alongside families, is a huge one for this year. If you have a heart to support any of that, we're going to be sending out messaging and asking you to join us in that. So
as for individuals or churches or businesses, there might be an individual that could sponsor and underwrite a whole daycare or 5 daycares out there. And
that's right.
If that's your yes, then by all means jump in. And there's individuals out there that be like, well, I can sponsor 1 child. And that's a big yes too. So it's kind of spreads the gamut, you know, wherever you feel God is leading you to plug in, just jump in. And he shows up and shows off. And man, when you connect to the marginalized, you're connecting to Jesus, because that's where he likes to hang out.
Amen.
So good. Will, Mark, thank you so much for joining me. It was so great to learn more about Hands and Feet Project and your 2025 endeavor. I'm hoping that people are getting so much wisdom from the advice and the stories that you shared. And I'm hoping that they all find their own endeavor for this year.
That's great.
Thanks,
Love
Patrick.
that.
Appreciate it.
So for anyone listening, feel free to like, share, subscribe all major platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you like to listen to your podcast. We'll have video associated with it too. So share it with everyone. And I hope that you find your own endeavor.